waves are a lot bigger than they should be for this area.
There's like some water leaking in.
We've had a lot of disasters on our trips. We really have. Right.
Keep pumping with the manual, no closing.
A boat sinking is the only thing where it's like, what can you do about that?
Sorry
everyone.
Sorry everyone.
Buzzards do not like drones, in the slightest. In fact, they dive bomb drones.
This is where all the buzzards are going to be.
Yeah.
And this rustling and all this chaos happens above you.
So what we're planning to do today is actually go for a sail, a big sail. We're going to go all the way up to Antigua.
Trinidad. From the moment we sailed into the channel, we were blown away by the vibrant jungle, the protected waters, and the warm welcome we received from the friendly locals.
Amazed.
Film that rock, Adam!
Film that small piece of fluff! It's amazing, it's Trinidad fluff! Oh my god!
We celebrated Carnival, explored secluded jungle hideaways, abandoned lighthouses, radar stations, and leper colonies. And never once did we feel unwelcome or unsafe.
Oh!
Jesus, man.
Okay, maybe a little whilst behind the wheel.
You're not a thrill seeker, just get the bus.
But all good things must come to an end.
I'm happy to be leaving, but sorry to be going.
It's time to once again put to sea and go back on the hunt for the next self-inflicted adventure. This time our destination is Antigua, 380 nautical miles north of Trinidad. A cruiser's mecca and a fantastic place to begin preparations for an Atlantic crossing.
Bit of a cloudy day, not the best start. Like sometimes when Adam says that he wants to leave on blue sunny skies, I'm like, oh come on, we gotta have some cloud, but this is probably a bit on the extreme end. This is very cloudy.
It's early. I'm sure the sun will come up.
Oh, another boat's coming in.
Another boat.
I wonder where they
Oh yeah,
come
probably
from.
coming in. Most people arrive in the morning. See babe, somebody else was fine out there.
Yeah, exactly.
No, honestly, I
Geez,
think
they got
it's...
like two or three reefs in, so I think
Yeah,
I think maybe we'll put maybe 2 reefs in to start, or 1 reef.
We'll go 2.
Yeah,
Shake
it's
it
very
out.
deceiving around here because the morning times are quite calm. Like for instance, right now it's 5 knots apparently, and then in the afternoon, late morning it starts to pick up, and then that's what you actually get.
Okay, ready for the winch. Ready on?
There's a bit of surge coming through the gap there. These waves are a lot bigger than they should be for this area.
Tide's going out, which is good for us, but the wind's coming in and it's blowing straight into the channel, so it's sort of wind against tide in moderately shallow water and in a channel, so it all kind of stands up and becomes like this.
Still doing 7 knots though.
Yeah, that's how I know the tide's going out, because there's no way we'd be doing 7 knots into the breeze with this kind of surge. It's a bit eerie coming out here. It's sort of really calm and then it starts to get wavy, and then there's all this choppy stuff where the currents meet and it gets all a bit messy, and then the wind starts to fill in. You're like, ooh.
We're no
what are
longer
we in
protected anymore.
Yeah, we're not in the calm, protected waters anymore. I mean, you just look back and you're like, oh, it's so nice in there.
I know. Oh, yep. There's oh, it's only 14 knots. That's okay. Still. Whew. Bye-bye, Trinidad. Puppy's getting a chance to come out. signs of leaking?
Not really.
Okay, it's good.
There's some small, there is water here, but I don't know, I can't tell where it's.
Maybe it's waves from the bow?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Probably about. Sorry?
There's water here as well, so
Alright, so
I
that's.
don't think it's those.
Probably about 4 hours underway. It's about 2 o'clock now. And suddenly the booch pump goes off. And because we have an alarm on it, it made noise. So anyway, we looked down and we thought maybe it's because we're on a bit of a lean. That maybe the water from our bilge, because we were wet bilge, like that. Because we have a wet bilge, we thought maybe we're on a bit of a lean. But we pumped it dry like I'm doing now because the manual bilge gets a bit further down and the bilge is filling up a bit quickly. So you can see I'm pumping it dry and then it's getting above the float switch again in about 10-20 seconds. Adam's just searching to try to find any leaks below.
There's like some water leaking in. I'm just gonna close these seacocks and see what that.
Alright.
Keep pumping with the manual, don't close the water tap. Okay, that's dry.
Alright, I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not pumping. Let's see how long that lasts. Pumping is tiring, it's very tiring. If that were at a quicker pace, I would not want to be here all day.
I think it might have been coming in through the bilge pump.
Alright, so our bilge pump doesn't have a check valve on it, which means that if it sucks water up and goes out of the boat, it means that it can come back down if it can come back into the boat. Some bilge pumps are sold with a check valve, some of them aren't. The one that we bought recently is not sold with a check valve, so maybe that's it. I don't know. This is a pump that we bought in St. Martin, so really we've only kind of done one tack on it, which was the opposite tack to this, on the way from St. Martin down to Trinidad, so it wouldn't have really been tested very well on this side, like on this tack. Maybe that's the problem. At the moment the bilge pump hasn't gone off, so that's good. After Adam's closed the seacock. Oh man, I'm exhausted. And bloody stressed. 4 hours in and suddenly I'm sinking. It's not good. Oh my god. Oh, this reminds me of the first time when we thought we had issues. Ugh. Can't talk, I'm a bit stressed right now. Phew, well. Alright, we've put the boat back to rights. That was a bit stressful there for a second.
A little bit. Usually we're pretty calm with things like that, but the reason, well, I don't know about you, but the reason I was like, oh no, is because we've just put in, well, not just, but this is the first real beat to windward we've had since we put in new transducers.
Yep.
And of course we were exactly between Grenada and Trinidad.
Yeah.
We couldn't have been further from either if we tried. So I was like, well, that's exactly when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's just great.
Yeah.
So the first thing I checked was that there was a little bit of water, but that's what had been coming through the bow, just through the chain pipe, the horse pipe, which is fairly normal. That happens. And then we discovered, well, that we suspect that it was the bilge siphoning water in. So the anti-siphon is obviously blocked or not working, and it was siphoning water in because the bilge alarm went off and it pumped a bunch of water out, and then suddenly it just started hemorrhaging back in again. I was like, whoa, 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 and then the bilge alarm went off again.
Yep.
And then this time I looked, going, we're not taking water, and Kiara was pumping with the manual pump, and that works very, very efficiently. And I was like, all right, cool, let's drain. Now let me watch and see where it's coming from. And I just watched the water level just go straight back up. So of course I closed the seacock for the automatic bilge pump. Problem subsided. So we know that's what it was.
Yeah. I think I was stressed more than anything because, like, we've had a lot of disasters on our trips. We really have. But this is the only thing that can really, like, a boat sinking is the only thing where it's like, what can you do about that if water's coming in so fast that you can't control it? And we could obviously control this one, but I think that's the thing. I was just like, I'm not as prepared for this one as I am in other disasters that we have on the boat, and that's what made me really panic.
The mast stays up and the water stays on the outside.
Yeah, I guess
we can
so.
get through pretty much everything else.
Yeah,
but when the water's
exactly.
coming in,
Yeah, when the water's coming in, you're like, well, oh my god! And especially because we were right in between Trinidad and Grenada, it's like, where do we go? If it does come in faster, where can we go to?
we would have made it.
Stressful.
We would have made it.
It's
So
very
where are we?
stressful.
We are
Yes.
20 miles off the southwestern tip of Grenada. We'll be passing Grenada in the evening, which is fun.
So Adam's decided that we're going to go to the behind Grenada, to the leeward of Grenada,
Yeah.
because we kind of, there were times when we were like, we can make this angle to go in front of Grenada, and then other times we were like, maybe not. So made the executive decision to just go behind it, and we'll be cutting it close. So we'll see how we go with sailing behind
we might
that,
end
but
up
we should
in
be
the
okay.
wind shadow for a little
Yeah.
bit, but generally that's not a problem. Yeah, the current that's come screaming between Tobago and Trinidad and up the South American coast towards there, it really pushes you westward quite violently, and we were feeling it today. Like we could even see it at times, like the merging of the two water streams.
Yeah. So far so good, and the sky has blued out a little bit, which is nice. We've gotten away from that grey kind of musty colour.
Yeah, which is pleasant. It wasn't threatening, nothing sinister. It was just a bit drab, and now it's kind of a nice blue, and it seems like there's nothing sinister on the horizon, at least for now. So we should be in for a nice evening.
Yes.
Full moon too.
Love full moon sailing.
Full moon, early rising, and a late setter. That's good. It'll be a bright night if the skies are clear. It'll be good. I feel I should just weigh in here and say, doesn't Happy Hydrovane look beautiful? New season, new outfit, she's looking good. Took me all morning to wrestle her into that thing. Corset.
Yes.
Just now see the first silhouette of Grenada. We're about to pass the southwestern corner of Grenada. Typical, just as the sun goes down we start getting back into the close proximity of land, but we are really just going to kiss the rock and keep on cruising back out into open ocean. We're actually just passing over some shoaling, which is essentially the beginning of Grenada's sort of land mass. It's like the first rumblings of land, and 30 meters of water, that's about all we're going to see really. I'm just keeping a bit of a keen eye out, mostly for traffic and also for tidal flows that sometimes rip through here that are noted on the charts. As you can tell by me flailing around, it's a little bit bumpy, but generally lovely. Like we've had 18 knots, 16 to 18 on the beam all day. We've had one reef in, the Hydrovane has steered us like a champ. We've had, I don't know, maybe 6 to 10 foot seas between the nose and the beam. It's getting a lot better than it was this morning. We charged out of Trinidad with quite a bit of head swell, and that subsided as we sort of broke out of the current that rips around that corner and into sort of more benign conditions. And yeah, this should basically be what we're in for the next 2.5 days.
First thing in the morning, my shift, and last night was actually not too bad. First night underway. It was kind of, we had to go to the leeward side of Grenada, and so it meant that the wind dropped out for like a few minutes, for probably about 5 minutes. We decided to switch the engine on. It was literally like 5 knots of wind. 5 minutes later, wind's back, 18 knots. So anyway, we sailed through most of the night and pretty much had 2 reefs put in the main, and not much of a head sail out either, but with the staysail it's kind of like there's still a lot of sail up front, which is not too bad. But anyway, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. No, it's not. What time is it? It's at 6:45 in the morning, and we are making pretty good progress though. Wind's still started to drop off to about 13 knots, so I just let a bit more head sail out. And I think when Adam gets up we'll shake a reef out, because at the moment there's 2 reefs in, which is entirely unnecessary for like gusts of 15. But should be a pretty cruisy day. Yeah, good first night overall. We're making good progress. Well, Adam has turned off the wind. He has come up from his snooze. It's about 9 o'clock, and the wind pretty much dropped down to like 5 knots. Thanks, Adam. So I've shaken out 2 reefs, the 2 reefs that we had, also shaken out the jibs. Now we have a full head sail. So we have all canvas flying. We have every scrap of canvas up and hopefully pushing us along. And out of, it's now about 10 knots, we're doing 5, which isn't that bad. That's okay. We are also in the Lehman Island, but we are about 30 miles away from said island, so I don't know if that's really a good excuse. It's pretty much like, it's weird that you can't see anything around here, you can't see any of the islands, it's all just kind of hazy. It must be like Saharan dust or something. So yeah, we're all on our own. Both Adam and I didn't see any traffic last night either, which is quite strange. Sometimes we might see like a cruise ship or a cargo ship, but absolutely nothing. It's weird, it's very strange. It just feels too quiet for the Caribbean. Hey, what you doing?
Hey?
What you doing?
We've had ever since our first Atlantic crossing, we've had a bit of a noise on the hydrovane or somewhere in the back that I can't explain. I don't know whether it's come up after the crossing or we've just noticed it after the crossing. It's always been there, I'm not really sure, but essentially the hydrovane bolts into the hull, which shares a wall with, or a hull, if you will, a bed that I sleep in, at least underway, the main bed in the back. And every now and again we get sort of a pop, is how I could describe it. It's operating fine and it looks and feels rock solid, so I can't really fault it. And there's no, like, the hull braces are, you know, well and truly through bolted into the hull, and all the silica 4200 seals, they're not broken. Like, it looks fine, the hull's not flexing, it feels and looks rock solid. And yet, every now and again when you're inside, you just hear this like pop, and then it sort of stops, and it's really intermittent, it doesn't follow a pattern. So I don't think that the hydrovane is working. Like, we've checked the bolts between these passages as well. Like, after the first one I was like, oh, I better check to make sure it's not, you know, flogging its way out of the hull. So I don't think it's the bolts. What I think maybe is the case is either it's nothing to do with the hydrovane and there's just something in the gas locker that's sort of like rattling and it sounds like it's coming from there, or, and this is my leading theory, it's the lower bearing on the hydrovane is not seated quite right, and every now and again the inner shaft kind of slips off the bottom bearing and goes pop against the outer tube or something like that. So I don't know, I think I'm just going to have to sort of open up the lower end of the hydrovane when we get there and see if that's it really. I just got to keep chasing it till I find it, or decide that there's nothing wrong and ignore it, which is kind of what I have to do now because I can't fix it if I can't find it. The wind's just piped up a little bit. It was sort of 15, 18, and now it's sort of 18 to 20 something. And frankly, we're doing 8 knots, so there's really no reason to keep our pedal to the metal. I'm gonna go down and try and get some sleep after this, so we'll tap the brakes, sort of, maybe flatten around a little bit and future-proof ourselves against any gusts. So yeah, we'll just tuck in the second reef, and then we'll be ready for, well, should be ready for just about anything that's coming our way.
What's for dinner, champ?
Dinner is potato and lentil stew. It's quite nice because it's actually a bit chilly out here. Chilly, I say chilly like it's 20 something degrees. Well, we have one more island to go. I think we've ticked off 5, one more to go. Have we ticked off 5? So we've gone past Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Martinique, just at the top of Dominica now, and one more island, which is Guadeloupe. So we're going to be getting in a little tight to Guadeloupe because we need to make more of a kind of northern line after that, up to Antigua. So we might get Guadeloupe's wind shadow, but fingers crossed not. Annoyingly, we were like 20 miles away from Dominica, and we were getting the wind shadow from there. We were 20 miles away. It's crazy. So we had to motor sail just for a little bit, for like an hour or something, which meant that Adam was up here joining me, sleeping, which is nice for the company. We've had a pretty awesome... have we had a pretty awesome passage? I was just about to say, we've had a pretty awesome passage. The nights have just been absolutely stunning. There have been minimal to no clouds, which means that the stars are just outrageous. And then the moon kind of comes up at around like 8 p.m. and it's not a full moon, but it's so big and so bright, and it's really, really nice. Night times have actually been really quite lovely. Daytimes, because it's been beating to windward quite a lot of the time, actually the whole time it's been beating to windward, it has been a bit more rougher than what I would have hoped for, but it's beating to windward. We've survived, it's fine. Our boat does pretty well beating to windward, which is really, really good, thank God. So we have seen many of the days of like 8 knots beating to windward, so it's like, even if it's a bit rough, you get good speed, so you're just like, oh, I'll stick it out a little bit longer, it's okay. And working downstairs, like I've been able to work downstairs even with it. So it actually hasn't been too bad. Anyway, that is my update for the morning. It was a lovely night, and very, very calm, which meant that we had some sleep, and then motor was on for a little bit. Anyway, I told you all this, so it was a very lovely night. And hopefully arriving late this afternoon, or evening time, and where the hell are we going? Antigua. Bleh, sleep deprived.